Before we get started, I want you guys to all pause for just a moment, and I want you to think about what it is that you're known for. What is your legacy right now as you're sitting in this room? Is it something that you've accomplished, such as graduating from college or successfully climbing the corporate ladder or making a name for yourself in industry? Or is it something that you have made a commitment to and honored that commitment, like being a brother or sister, being a member of a fraternity or sorority, or being married and being a great husband or a great wife? Whatever it is, I want you to think about what you want to be remembered for, because ultimately I believe that you define what legacy you leave behind. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, I am a proud alumni of Kennesaw State University. I graduated from here with my bachelor's in political science, and as part of my major concentration, I had to take several classes with this one particular professor. And this professor had a reputation for being difficult and a reputation for being intimidating. And he lived up to that reputation. He was a large, tall man who was very outspoken, and he was very opinionated, and he was very traditional in how he taught his classes. So he taught, there were no PowerPoint slides, he just taught off these straight lecture notes. And so in his class, you only had 3 chances to earn your grade with him, and that was a midterm, a final, and a project. He did not believe in extra credit because you either knew the material or you didn't. And so I studied really hard for his class, knowing that it was going to be challenging. And as a decent student, I never made anything less than a B in college. And so all of that changed with my first class with him when I got our essay midterm back, and at the top was a big red C. And I was devastated. And so I went to go talk to him, and I told him I had a few concerns about the midterm, the main one being my grade, but the second one being that I had worked so hard for that test. I'd studied really hard, and I didn't understand what it was that I did wrong and why I got a C. And if we were going to have all these other classes together, I needed to understand that, and I needed to learn from my mistakes. And it was in that conversation that he looked at me, and then he looked down at my essay with the big red C on it, and then he looked back up at me, and he told me that everyone gets a C on their first assignment in his class. Everybody. Now, given that he is intimidating and this reputation that he has where nobody wants to go talk to him, students weren't really lined up outside of his office door to question his grading practices. Many of my classmates actually took the attitude of, I'm just going to try better next time. But that was not something that I was willing to risk. My grades were just too important to me to let that go. And so in that conversation, he agreed to take another look at my exam, and I actually made better than the initial C that I got. And we had several more classes together, and we were fine, and I was able to graduate from here magna cum laude, so it all worked out. But what does that have to do with your legacy? A legacy is loosely defined as something you leave behind. But I think your legacy is so much more than that. I think your legacy is comprised of these little moments that connect together to create this lasting impact. The only reason that I wanted to go and talk to that professor is because of what my dad taught us. Growing up, he told us that we should stand up for what we believe in, stand up for ourselves, and we should be willing to challenge processes, but do so respectfully. He also taught us to chase our dreams, but to be responsible. And he taught us to never settle for anything less than our very best. So this is my dad. This is my dad. He married my mom. Together they had 5 kids. He believed in tough love and hard work, but in November of 2007, he lost his battle with cancer. 6 years later, in 2013, my niece Bonnie was born. And although my dad never got a chance to meet her, her life will significantly be impacted by him because of his legacy. And I think your legacy is a very powerful thing. This picture was taken last year, and as you can see, we've added Bonnie, and my dad is no longer with us. But the morals and the values and the ideals that he instilled in my brothers, my sisters, and even the impact that he had on my mother survived him because of his legacy. Our experiences, and there's 10 years between my youngest sister and myself. And so our experiences were very different, and even how we apply what we learned is very different. But our foundation is the same because my dad was consistent in his daily actions that created his reputation that ultimately became his legacy. And fortunately for us and for Bonnie, it's one that we're very proud of, and I'm happy to stand up here and share with you. But I don't want to share this and imply that my parents were perfect. In fact, my dad, I think he really enjoyed embarrassing me because he was really good at it. Growing up, he didn't care about what was cool or even what was normal or what everyone else was doing. He did care about what was right, and he cared about making sure that our best interest was always at the forefront of his mind. And so he had these strict rules and ridiculous curfew times that I didn't necessarily agree with, but I do now understand that he had those things because he cared, and he did those things because he wanted nothing but the very best for us. So he wanted his children to have opportunities and experiences that he never did. And so when all my friends were going to Disney for their family vacations, we were at the Smithsonian. And when we actually did go to Florida, it wasn't to see Mickey Mouse, it was to see the NASA space launch. And when I turned 16, and all my friends had these cute little cars waiting in their driveway for them, I had to negotiate borrowing my parents' car so that I could get a job and go to and from work so that I could save up enough money to contribute to the purchase price of my first car. Because if I contributed to it, then I would value and appreciate it more than if it were just given to me. So more than cultural experiences and personal responsibility, my dad taught us to value people and experiences over monetary items. And those are the lessons that are going to be passed down to Bonnie. Those are the things that she is going to learn in some way, shape, or form because of my dad's legacy. And as intentional as he was about teaching us all of these lessons, I think the greatest lesson that I learned from my dad was unintentional. His battle with cancer was not an easy one. But what I learned from that is that we have to take advantage of each and every moment that we have, because we don't know how many moments we're going to get. So again, I want to ask you, what is your legacy? But more importantly, what do you want it to be? What do you want to be known for? What do you want to be remembered for? And it is my hope that each and every one of you will take advantage of all of the opportunities that you have, and that your daily actions and your reputation will connect to a legacy that you're proud to leave behind. Thank you very much.